I'm not here to hype anything, I'm here to help you decide whether the Cambro Insulated food pan carrier actually saves you time, money, and headaches on the road. If you've ever arrived at a banquet and found that the hot dishes are lukewarm, or spent an extra hour in the kitchen trying to reheat food that's already dry, you know the frustration. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In this review I'll walk through the real-world setup, the everyday quirks, and the hidden trade-offs so you can figure out if this hotbox is worth the slot in your catering kit. First, let's talk about the problem most caterers face: keeping multiple full-size pans hot for several hours while you're loading, transporting, and serving. The Cambro carrier promises CFC-free insulation that keeps food at safe temperature for 4+ hours without electricity, which on paper sounds perfect for a lunch-hour buffet or a wedding reception that stretches into the evening. But the question is whether that promise holds up when you're juggling a cramped van, a limited power source, and a menu that includes both soups and delicate sauces. The carrier is built to fit up to 6 full-size 2-inch GN1/1 pans, and it also accepts GN1/2 and GN1/3 pans. In practice that means you can load a full lineup of entrees, sides, and even a couple of dessert trays in a single unit. I've seen a small catering team load a roasted chicken, a vegetable medley, a pasta bake, and a 2-tiered sauce station all at once, and still have space left for a garnish tray. For anyone who runs a medium-sized operation, think 50,100 guests per event. That kind of capacity can replace a couple of separate warming cabinets and cut down on the number of trips back to the kitchen. One of the strengths that shows up in real use is the gentle, non-radiant heat design. Traditional electric hotboxes often use radiant elements that can dry out sauces or overcook the tops of casseroles. Cambro's system circulates warm air, so a bechamel sauce stays creamy, and a lasagna doesn't develop a crust that cracks when you cut into it. I've watched chefs reheat a tray of creamy spinach dip that was left out for a while, and the texture stayed smooth, no grainy spots, no burnt edges. That matters when you're serving a dish that's supposed to be velvety, not a dry, overcooked version that could earn a bad review. The preheat time is another practical factor. The carrier needs about an hour to reach operating temperature, which sounds like a long wait if you're on a tight schedule. However, once it's hot, the heat recovery is impressively fast, about 3 minutes to bring the interior back up after you open the doors to serve. In a busy service line, where you might be opening the carrier every 5 to 10 minutes, that quick recovery means the food stays within the safe temperature range without a noticeable dip. For a catering crew that can afford to preheat the unit during setup, the recovery time essentially eliminates the cold spot you get with older models. Now for the trade-offs. The carrier's insulation does a great job of holding heat, but it does come with a weight penalty. A fully loaded unit can tip the scales at around 70 pounds, which means you need at least 2 people to lift and maneuver it safely. If you're a solo operator, or a small startup that relies on a single van, that extra bulk could become a logistical headache, especially when you have to navigate tight doorways or stairwells. Another limitation is the reliance on electricity after the 4-hour window. The CFC-free insulation will keep food safe for a little over 4 hours without power, but once that window closes you need to plug the unit back in to maintain temperature. In an outdoor event with limited access to outlets, you might find yourself scrambling for a generator or a long extension cord. For venues that guarantee power, it's a non-issue, but for pop-up food trucks or remote weddings it's a risk you have to plan around. Price is also worth a mention. Cambro is a reputable brand in the food service world, and the carrier reflects that pedigree. It sits in the higher-end bracket for portable hotboxes, which means you're investing a significant chunk of your equipment budget. The rating on Amazon hovers around 3.4 stars from just 2 reviews, so there isn't a wealth of user feedback to validate the cost-benefit ratio. If you already own a set of standard warming trays, you might find the incremental advantage of the insulated carrier doesn't justify the outlay unless you're frequently dealing with long transport times, or need that non-radiant heat for delicate dishes. So, who should buy it? If you run a catering business that regularly serves full-size GN pans, need to keep food hot for several hours while on the move, and have reliable access to power at the venue, this Cambro Hotbox is a solid addition. It shines for events where food quality can't be compromised. Think wedding receptions, corporate